Back in the 1990s, there was a bodybuilder known as Charles Clairmont. He was so aesthetically pleasing that it wouldn't be surprising to look back at the old pictures of some of the old Olympias and have a look at Charles Clairmont and think to yourself, this man should have won the Olympia, or if not, placed very high. And nowadays, there is a man known as Cedric Mcmillian, and I'm sure 20 years from now, people will look back and think, man, this guy looked good. Why did he not place higher? I'm sure a lot of that can be contributed to the soft glutes, things of that nature. But these two guys, aesthetically and just very, very pleasing to the eye, these guys are just number one in my books. So I thought to myself, let's lay these two on the line and do a little bit of a comparison. And of course, this is not a proper front relaxed position, nor do we have the proper tight pictures of all the mandatory shots, things of that nature. But food for thought here. There is a more massive version, a later version of Charles Clairmont, and the versions vary so different that I'll probably show a couple actually of each. So a little bit of a bonus for you guys. Here in the front double bicep pose, and it looks like Charles Clairmont, aesthetically, conditioning, he's just better. Look at the lines, just fantastic. But if you'll notice, Cedric Mcmillian looks like he's about 20 pounds heavier. He probably is, maybe even 30. Here is the more massive version of Charles Clairmont. Now, between the two versions of Clairmont, I would much prefer the leaner version, but he's probably able to do more battle against Cedric Mcmillian. But as a judge, they would probably go with Cedric just because he's like I said, he's 10, 20, 30 pounds heavier. Definitely not 10. He's heavier. Here in the front lat spread, same thing, the conditioning. This is the leaner version of Charles Clairmont. Look at the conditioning of those legs. What a fantastic set of wheels on him. Of course, it is tilted, and that is one of the main reasons why I decided to throw, boom, other versions. And you can see right off the hop, the conditioning is nowhere near what it was for Charles Clairmont, but he is much more massive. He's a front-on shot too. I think these two would have been doing battle for sure if they had been competing at the same time. You got to think, guys, too. If they had competed at the same time, all the drugs, the training, things of that nature, the information that bodybuilders have, would all been the same. Here in the side shot, I made Cedric about 5-6 inches shorter because he's crouching at the knees. I mean, have a look at the size of the lag difference. So if I had made Cedric any bigger, I mean, he would have been too big, let's face it. And he is a lot bigger. You can see from the side. It's thicker. Aesthetically, again, Charles Clairmont. Very hard to beat. Look at the delts on him. But the arm size, just being dwarfed, and not to mention the pecs. Cedric Mcmillian, he is a beast in the mandatory shots, I'm here to tell you. No massive version of the side chest. Go right into the side tricepses, baby, please. A little bit of respect there for Louis Marco. If not for him, there would not be a lot of these smaller channels like myself. But anyway, look at the striations in the tricep of Charles. Now, genetically speaking, the makeup of these two, I don't really appreciate the shape of Cedric's tricep. I mean, it's huge. It's more of a Sean Ray tricep. It's like it swoops out. But if you'll notice the striations on Charles Clairmont's tricep, let's have a look at a more massive version. More comparable, if you ask me. He's got from a death face. Did you notice Charles had a death face, and now he's got a bloated face. Of course, he's holding his breath. He's letting some oxygen out. Look at the pecs are much bigger this time of Charles Clairmont. Nothing doing though. I think Cedric Mcmillian, aside from Arnold Schwarzenegger, probably the biggest set of pecs bodybuilding history. And I'm not joking. Cedric had a big, big old set of pecs. All right, guys. Make or break time, the back developments. And unfortunately, we don't have a straight-on shot of a rear lat spread of Charles Clairmont. And it's a shame because he looks like he's in just as good as condition when you look at the lower lat insertions. Of course, the lower back would have me think that Cedric is in much better condition. Cedric, he's flexing his glutes, but I don't think Charles is flexing his at all. And I can almost see striations. Actually, Charles has a a bigger rear end. I don't know, you have a name for that, or all I know is if I don't see the name of that in the comments section below, I'll probably be upset. And you guys will probably be upset if I don't say it. It's a badonkadonk, a baydonk-odonk, a great big bum. But anyway, rear double bicep. I think I would have leaned towards Cedric, by the way, in the rear lat because of the conditioning, the lower back. But the rear double bi, when I look at the arms. Now, before, I didn't really focus on the arms in this shot as much, but I like to add them in. I mean, but it is a tilted version, and like I said, I like to I like to have it fair, and when you don't have the straight-on shot, then you can't see the silhouette, the V-taper. And here we go. That's a much better shot, I think, for Charles. I think his back development did improve slightly. His glutes sure did. They look tighter. He doesn't have that big old bay. He has more of just a tight glute set. And you can see Cedric Mcmillian has these big long spikes on his glutes, and you can notice that from the side shots. If you don't remember, rewind it and you'll notice his glutes reach down a lot farther than Charles. And that's just the genetic makeup. Aesthetically pleasing is not, but Charles Clairmonte, not in as good as condition as Cedric. I don't know. I think this is a blowout, guys. I think Cedric is just too big, a little too conditioned. Of course, the ebon thigh, it is definitely a Charles Clairmonte pose when you consider the aesthetics. Look at the thigh. I might have made him a little too large. He is leaning back, so I should have taken that into consideration. Cedric might be an inch taller. Hard to say, really. Cedric Mcmillian, just unbelievable. He should have competed in the 90s. Darn you, Cedric. You should have been born 10, 15, 20 years before you were. Anyway, enough of that foolishness. The most muscular. This is not a shocker to me. Cedric is just bigger. He's all around bigger. He's a 30-pound. He has 30 pounds on Charles Clairmonte. Charles does have the aesthetics in his favor, so I'm sure a lot of you will, at the end of the day, vote for Charles Clairmonte in this entire competition. He looks like he's in a little bit better condition when I look at the upper body. Not when I look at the legs, though. Cedric Mcmillian, just a little too much for Charles Clairmonte. But personally, I think this is one of the best comparisons that I've ever done. Not bragging about my voting or judging or anything like that. I just mean these two, comparing these two. I mean, they're 6 feet tall. Man, if these guys had been around in the 70s, they would have been Olympia champion 10 times over. I'm here to tell you. They liked big, tall men. They don't care about them nowadays, I guess. It's a shame. Get striated glutes, Cedric. I guess it's too late for him. But anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed this little comparison video. Hit thumbs up if you did. Subscribe if you have not already. Have a great day.